Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stonks Maxxing. So today, it's going to be an interesting stream, bit of a switch up, but I'm going to be going over the alcohol industry. So this is something that I moved to New York for, helping out one of my friends build his brand, Wild Mannered. He operates in the soju business. So soju is a distilled spirit, typically used with rice, but it can be really any type of grain. Wild Mannered specifically is distilled from grapes. It's kind of like a Korean vodka, but not as strong. It's a lot smoother, less harsh. Comes around 13%, 13 to 20% alcohol, but 13 to 20% alcohol by volume. Okay, damn, can't speak. I also have a rash here, which is kind of ishy, but oh well. So yeah, it's like a Korean vodka. Vodka is a distilled spirit. And then you have other types of alcohol drinks where they're fermented. Beer, makgeolli, which is another Korean rice fermented drink. Sake, even wine. All of these are fermented over time, as opposed to distilled, where you're using some type of fermented juice or liquid, but you're distilling it. So essentially you're boiling that liquid, extracting all of the alcohol, and then purifying that. So you extract it, and then that leads to some type of specialized container where you're essentially capturing pure alcohol. Okay, that was a long-winded explanation. Made from distilled grape spirit, grape wine, and real fruits and botanicals. So I believe it's a still. Yeah, so this is what people use to distill. I think this is a better example. So you have this container. This is probably where all of the fermented liquid is, and then you boil this at a very high temperature. So I believe alcohol and water both have different boiling points, so you can capture the alcohol, which I think does boil at a lower temp. Let's see. Evaporate at a lower temp compared to water. Oh shoot. Okay, so alcohol does, this spells, so it does boil at a lower ethanol. Ethanol is the substance, okay. Okay, it's actually very interesting. So let me add this to the alcohol. So this is actually an important lesson to learn. Okay, so what is the difference between a fermented spirit and a distilled alcoholic drink? So a fermented drink is a type of beverage that only goes through the process of fermentation without any additional purification steps. So if we were to describe what fermentation is, so that's the actual chemical process that produces the ethanol as a byproduct of yeast reacting with sugars that are commonly found in starches. Is natural process that involves yeast consuming sugars and releasing ethanol as a byproduct, which is a distilled drink is a type of beverage that goes through the fermentation process and an additional purification step where the alcoholic liquid is where the liquid is boiled and the ethanol is separated from the liquid base. Typically, ethanol has a lower boiling point, so it evaporates at a boiling point, so the temperature that turns the liquid to a gas. Right, so there's three different states. There's a solid, liquid, gas. Boiling point is when the actual liquid turns into a gas. I forgot what the gas to liquid is called. Condensation, maybe? And then freezing? I don't know if that's the word for turning a liquid to a solid. So it evaporates at a diffusion, maybe. Okay, let's leave it here. So honestly, source ChatGPT. Let me, is this a correct statement to the question? Pure wine sake. Okay. Call it distillate. You see, so ethanol, which is like the water vaporizes. Okay. So actually, I like that. Distillation captured and condensed into a. So what does condensed mean? Does condense mean it is made into a smaller batch? So I guess the alcohol. Ethanol is made into a smaller volume. gas state to look. Okay, so this is what condensed is. So cooled back into liquid. Okay, so that's how it works. So distillation involves heat first, an actual to turn the liquid into a vapor, and then it's condensed. So that's just the process of cooling it in order to get to the liquid form again. Okay. Soju, vodka, or whiskey. So mass specs group. I guess the few whiskeys that I know of, we can go through some of these, but top 5 whiskeys: Jack Daniels, which I believe is Brown-Forman, that's the company that makes it, which is US based. Jim Beam, I think, is number 1, so that's Suntory Global Spirits, which is Japanese based. We also have Crown Royal, which is a Diageo, and then Canadian Club, which I think this one might be Diageo. So Canadian Club is Diageo. I know Jameson is another Diageo. So that's an Irish whiskey. Jim Beam is a Kentucky bourbon typically, which I have to double check on what the actual definition of bourbon is. I know whiskey, so whiskey itself is a type of vodka that's just aged in a barrel. What vodka really is, it's any grain, let's say rice, wheat, barley, that's distilled and comes usually at that typically happens at a, let's say, 80 to 90 proof distillation. So that's about 40 to 50% ABV. Okay, so I think I got it mixed up between Crown Royal and Canadian Club. So I think one of them definitely is Diageo. I think the other one could be a Pernod Ricard or a Campari. So let's actually take a look. So best-selling vodkas, 2023. We had Smirnoff, which is number 1. That is a Diageo-based brand. Absolute Vodka, that's a Pernod Ricard. So Pernod Ricard is French. Diageo is from the UK. This is where it gets shaky. So I believe Zubrowka, that one is a Mass Specs. And then Quartzia, which is Global Spirits. And then Plubny Dar, which is a Bayadera. Dar, Zubrowka Mass Specs. Okay. And then Smirnoff. Okay, Smirnoff is Diageo Absolute Vodka. So Smirnoff, I think does have, okay, so it does seem like it does have some different flavors. And then Zubrowka, these I think are probably Russian. They do sound Russian. Most popular tequila brands, who owns them? Okay, so I think number 1 is Jose Cuervo, which is a Proximo Spirits. Number 2, probably Don Julio, which is a Diageo-based company. Number 3, give it to either Patron 1800. I think probably Patron. And then number 4 is Casamigos. So let's start with Patron. Patron should be Bacardi, and Casamigos is a Diageo-based brand. And then finally, number 5 is 1800. That's another Proximo Spirits, I believe. I could be mixing that up. I think Patron might be Proximo, and then 1800 is, I think, Bacardi. So let's do that. Oof. Never mind, I was right the first time. Okay, so Jose Cuervo, which is the Proximo Spirits, that's this tequila. So tequila is a distilled type of spirit. I have to define, so what spirit? So a spirit is just a type of drink that is distilled. Okay, okay. That's actually, so it's distilled spirit makes the same thing. Okay. So oh, which resembles a ghostly spirit in the air. Okay. I remember this was a concept actually described in the chemistry book by DK or BK books. I think it's DK books. So this is purifying substances. I think this something like about perfume, the fragrance of the gods. I remember this used to be a big, I guess it's a very old chemical, or I guess chemistry practice dating back at least to, I think, like 1000 BC. I forgot exactly who the first ever perfume, or I think the first ever like distillation was probably used for perfume. So being able to create these odors, I think, was seen as a very special job back in the day, like way back in the day. Okay. So Proximo Spirits is 1800s. Patron's Bacardi. Okay. So I'm gonna put 1 for now. What is a spirit in terms of alcohol? So a spirit is simply any type of drink that's call it alcoholic drink that is distilled. Common examples include, so let's try to name the 6 kind of base spirits. So whiskey, brandy, rum, vodka, tequila, maybe gin. So let's see, I think so. Gin is made from juniper berries. So I think it's a wine, typically a wine, and then you add some type of juniper berry. So let me double check. Blue agave plant. Okay. Botanicals, especially juniper. Okay. Fermented fruit, distilled wine often. Oh, right. Well, wine is fermented, correct? Is that why it is considered different from brandy? Okay, so that's actually that does help clear up things a lot. Okay. So let's keep going here. Most popular distilled spirits on Barstool's list. So this is going back to the whiskey, which is any type of spirit. So that's a distilled drink that's made from grains, typically wheat or barley, and is aged in a barrel. So that's what gives it the coloring. You also have brandy, which sounds like it's made from a grape mash typically, but unlike wine, it's distilled. So that means that you can take, we'll call it the fermentation of the grapes, so that does produce some type of wine, but then it's separated from the ethanol and then the other wine base, and that ethanol is captured and condensed into a more purified, concentrated form. So that's why wines typically are about 10 to 20% ABV. So it's about 10 to 20% of that whole bottle is ethanol. And then with brandy, it's about 30 to 40% of that whole bottle itself is composed of ethanol. So let me verify. Okay. Okay, so ethanol is a liquid. Okay. What is the definition of alcohol? Yeah, I feel like that's hydroxyl, okay. So ethanol is, let's see, so 2 carbons, 5 hydrogens, and then this hydroxyl groups. Okay, so having 3 hydrogens and 1 carbon really fucks you up. Okay, that's actually pretty interesting. That's a pretty... What is the chemistry definition of alcohol? So the chemistry definition of alcohol. I'd actually be very interested in doing a Substack article about this. I feel like this would be pretty fun. Could be interesting. So the chemistry definition of alcohol refers any type of compound, call it organic compound. So I guess organic really just means something that comes from the earth or can be made with elements on the periodic table. It's my best guess. Any type of organic compound that have one or more hydroxyl groups attached to a saturated carbon atom. Some examples. Okay. So what is a saturated carbon atom and what is a hydroxyl group? 1 oxygen, okay. It's the defining feature of all alcohols. So, let's see, the hydroxyl group So saturated carbon atom is a carbon that forms only single bonds with other atoms. Okay. As many hydrogen atoms as it can. It's fully bonded with no double or triple bonds. So two carbon. My voice does sound like it's starting to hurt a bit. Okay, I can see there's connected to 4. Sample of ethanol. Commonly found in drinks. Methanol, let's see. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see. So saturated, I'd imagine, means that all 4 bonds. Let's see. Can you describe? The molecules. Oh, covalent bond. I remember this from 21 Jump Street. What are the other types of bonds that are not covalent bonds? Ionic bonds, metallic bonds, shared, okay. So I think I'm gonna take colic. Oh shoot, I forgot today's alright, I need to sign up for a volunteering session tomorrow actually. So I'm gonna do that right now. Oh man. Okay, my screen has been frozen this whole time without me even knowing. God damn it. Okay, just signed up, so hopefully that works out. All right. Oh, okay, so this OH. Covalent bonds to 4 other molecules. Okay. I guess 4 other atoms, probably, is a better way to put it. Compounds. So, ethanol, typically found in alcoholic drinks, safe to consume in moderation. Number 2 is, what is methanol used for? Typically used in, not found, but used in fuel. And then isopropyl. Is this a thing? Let's see. Isopropanol. So everything ends in a null. A null. So, typically used as a cleaner / disinfectant. So I guess this probably kills things. Okay, so that was our lesson on alcohol. Let's keep going. Most popular tequila brands. Okay, so most popular tequila brands, we had number 1, Proximo Spirits, Jose Cuervo. Number 2, Don Julio, which is a Diageo brand. Number 3 is Patron, which is Bacardi. Number 4 is Casamigos, another Diageo one. And number 5 is 1800, which is a Proximo Spirits. Bacardi, Don Julio, Diageo, Jose Cuervo. Most popular distilled spirits on Bar School's list. Whiskey, which is vodka. It's like vodka. It's anything distilled in grains, so rice, barley, wheats, and is typically aged. Brandy, which is a distilled mash of grapes, typically with other types of fruits. Gin, which is a distilled form of, I'd say, vodka. It's very similar to vodka, distilled from grains, or fermented mash of grains. And I believe a common addition is juniper berries, so it's flavored with juniper berries and probably other botanicals as well. Tequila, which is usually made from the blue azul plant, or even some mezcal as well. And then tequila. There's also one more. I got distracted. I feel like I'm forgetting. Vodka. So vodka is just any type of spirit that's distilled from a grain barley, from wheat, and is distilled at a pretty high proof. Fermented mash grain, but differ in the methods and each distilled at higher proof. Okay, so that's, to be clear, it's a fermented mash of grain. So it had already gone through the fermentation process. Now it has to go through the distillation process. Okay, so this one is, I think, a bit of a misnomer. It sounds like it's the blue azul plant. From a mash using the blue azul plant. Blue agave. Okay, sorry, it's not azul, it's agave. Okay, so I'll do hard for now. Difference between a fermented and a distilled alcoholic drink. So this is something we went over today, right? A fermented drink is, think of a beer, a sake, a wine. These are all drinks that typically go through a single fermentation process. So fermentation is just the chemical reaction of yeast consuming sugar and creating carbon dioxide and ethanol as a byproduct, and it's that ethanol that is the alcohol, which is really any type of liquid or substance, an organic compound that has one, I think, hydrox, I don't remember the exact name, but it's an OH molecule. So it's one oxygen, one hydrogen, and then it's connected to a saturated carbon. So that carbon atom is connected to 4 other types of atoms. So there's 4 types of, 4 bonds that a carbon atom can make. And I believe these are called covalent bonds, which is just whenever they share electrons. Yeah. So that's fermentation. A distilled drink, that's any type of drink that goes through an additional distillation step. So typically what happens there is you have this fermented, call it a mash, a juice, a liquid. It's boiled, so that boiling will evaporate different parts of the liquid. Typically ethanol evaporates at a lower temperature compared to water, so it has a lower boiling temp. And that evaporated ethanol is then collected. It's condensed, so it's cooled back into a liquid form. And that liquid form is a more pure, concentrated form of ethanol. So that's the distillation part. So you have a higher proof, a higher ABV liquid at the end of the day. Soju, vodka, or whiskey. Yeah, I guess that's what separates soju from, I guess you can call it a spirit. So spirit is really just anything that's distilled. Maybe like a brandy. It's hard to say. Yeah. Big spirits conglomerates in the world today, and where are they based? Diageo, number 1. That's the big boy. That's the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James of spirits. They're based in the UK. Number 2 is Pernod Ricard. So that's the French company that owns Absolute Vodka. And then Beam Suntory, or today known as Suntory Global Spirits. So this guy is the big hitter in the whiskey game. Jim Beam. I think one other that's in the top 5. I could be wrong. Like a Crown or a Canadian Club. That's in Japan. Campari, which is a Italian-based spirits company. Brown-Forman, and Bacardi. Bermuda, US, Japan. Diageo, Campari, Beam Suntory, Pernod Ricard, Bacardi, Brown-Forman. So spirits, in terms of alcohol, spirit is simply just a distilled alcoholic beverage. Distillation is just the process of concentrating, typically, the alcohol or the ethanol, usually it's ethanol in an alcoholic beverage, into a more purified state. So you get a higher concentration of ethanol in your alcohol or in your beverage. The way that's done, takes a fermented liquid. So this can be used from any type of grain, a fruit, maybe like grapes, and it's boiled. So that boiling will separate the water and the ethanol, and probably the other ingredients as well. It's going to be captured in a still. Once it hits a part of a still, it's cooled rapidly, so it's condensed back into a liquid form, and that liquid form is the purified, concentrated alcohol beverage that you're going to serve. What types of beverages does Anheuser-Busch focus on? What are the top brands? So Anheuser-Busch, they focus on beers. They're one of the big beer companies that's based in the US. Probably recognize some of their names. Miller Lights, not Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light. Those are the 2 light beers. Stella Artois, Budweiser, Estrella Jalisco, El Presidente, Hoegaarden, Landshark, Michelob Ultra, Busch Beer, and I feel like there's one more that I'm forgetting. Kona Blue Wave. Yeah. So those are the big ones. Budweiser, Bud Light, Kona Blue Wave, Michelob Ultra, Stella Artois, Estrella Jalisco, Busch Beer, Natural Light, Hoegaarden, Presidente, and Landshark. Okay. Chemistry definition of alcohol, give some examples. So the chemistry definition of alcohol, this is what we talked about before. There's kind of 2 parts to it. The first one is that it's organic compound, and that organic compound is made with something called like a hydrolytic molecule. It's 1 oxygen, 1 hydrogen atom. And the second part of it is that oxygen and hydrogen atom is bonded with a saturated carbon. So a saturated carbon atom is simply an atom, a carbon atom that has 4 different bonds with other types of atoms. Common examples include ethanol, which is usually the type of alcohol that's found in beverages. So it's the byproduct of fermentation. There's methanol, which is commonly used as a fuel for creating electricity, for creating kinetic energy, for creating heat. And number 3 is isopropanol, which is typically a type of cleaning solution or disinfectant. Hydroxyl. Okay, so hydroxyl saturated carbon atom. So ethanol, okay, methanol, and isopropanol. So those are the big three. Saturated carbon. All right. Top 5 selling whiskey brands. So Jim Beam is number 1. It's a Beam Suntory. Number 2 is Jack Daniels, Brown-Forman. Number 3 is Jameson, which is a Diageo. Number 4 is Canadian Club, which is another Diageo. And then Crown Royal, which is a Beam Suntory. Oh, man, okay. So I got those two mixed up. It's Crown Royal, which is Diageo, and then Canadian Club, which is Beam Suntory. So that's kind of confusing. But let's also add, I want to add some photos here. Jim Beam. Oh shit. There we go. So Jim Beam. It would be nice to have a collection actually, like the other one. Let me create a PowerPoint. Or maybe an Excalibur. I'll do an Excalibur for now. I might actually pay for this. I've been thinking about paying for Excalibur. I don't know if it's worth it, but it's such a good UI that I feel like it could be. Okay, so let's go Jim Beam. Oh shoot, copy image. Let's paste it here. Huh, okay. So let's move this. Jim Beam to a Canadian Club. So Canadian Club, if I remember correctly, is Beam Suntory, right? Yeah, okay. Damn, this is very small compared to this picture. Okay, let's blow this up. I might actually try to blow this up a bit. Yeah, this looks good. Okay. Oof. Yeah, this looks good. All right. So Canadian Club, and then Jameson. Irish whiskey. Black Barrel. Yeah, I'm surprised it's green, I'm not gonna lie. Triple distilled Irish whiskey. Might be the bottling. It's unique. Okay. And Crown Royal. So Crown Royal is a Diageo-based brand. And what's the last one? Jack Daniels. Number 7, Tennessee whiskey. All right. So I think this is very interesting. Shoot. Alright, I kind of screwed up. Let me take one from here. Okay, I think this could work. But it's... yeah. Alright, so we got Jim Beam, Suntory, Canadian Club, which is Diageo. Sorry, Beam, Suntory, Jameson, Diageo, Crown Royal, Diageo, Jack Daniels, Bacardi. Yeah. Oh, Brown-Forman. Okay, so obviously I still need help with this. Yeah. Difference between a fermented and a distilled alcoholic drink. Fermented is any type of drink that is going through just the fermentation process, beer, sake, wine. And distilled spirit or distilled drink is any type of drink or beverage that goes through an additional distillation step, which is the process of boiling and evaporating part of a fermented juice or a liquid to separate out the ethanol into a more concentrated form, which is further condensed from a gas into a liquid. A Negroni, okay. This one's interesting. I kind of forgot. I remember it's a cocktail. I think it does have maybe, for sure has a spirit. I forgot which one. Maybe a vodka. And I think it has Negroni itself, which I believe is some type of citrusy type bitter. And then probably some type of sugar, like a cane sugar, let's see. Gin, distilled from grain, added from juniper. Sweet vermouth, wine flavored with aromatic herbs, and bitter Campari. Okay. So equal parts gin. So if I remember correctly, gin is any type of distilled spirit, or I guess a spirit that has juniper berries as an added botanical and other natural flavors as well. Okay, and then vermouth, sweet vermouth. So it sounds like it's a type of wine, or just maybe a white wine that's added with maybe other types of botanicals as well. Aromatic herbs, bitter Campari. Spirit in terms of alcohol, it's really just any type of distilled drink. Soju, vodka, tequila, whiskey, brandy, gin, rum, all of these are examples. Chemistry definition. So chemistry definition of alcohol, any type of drink, or sorry, not drink, but organic compound that satisfies two definitions. One of them, it's an organic compound, and it's composed of at least one hydroxyl molecule. So hydroxyl molecule is one oxygen and one hydrogen atom that are bonded together. And then the second definition is that it has to have a saturated carbon atom, which is a carbon atom that has connections or bonds with at least four other types of atoms, and that saturated carbon atom is connected to the hydroxyl molecule. And so there's three major types of alcohol. Ethanol, which is the one that's commonly found in alcoholic beverages. It's a result of fermentation. Second is methanol, which is used in fuel. And number 3 is isopropanol, which is used in cleaning solutions, disinfectants. What's a Negroni? So Negroni, we had described it as equal parts gin, which is a spirit that can be distilled from any type of grain mash, but typically has juniper berries and other botanicals. Sweet vermouth, which is a type of wine that has other aromatic herbs into it, and then it's added with a bitter Campari, which is a citrusy type flavor. What is the difference between a fermented and a distilled alcoholic drink? Okay, I talked about this earlier. I feel like I'm getting the same ones. No, put this for now. It's good. Top 5 selling whiskey brands. Okay, so looking at them right now. Let's close this out. But, oh, I can kind of see it here again. Shoot. Okay, number 1 is Jim Beam, which is a Beam Suntory. Number 2 is Jack Daniels, which is a Brown Foreman. I guess you can see it right here. Number 3 is a Jameson, which is an Irish whiskey by Diageo. And then Crown Royal, which is another Diageo, which is also a Canadian whiskey. And then finally is Canadian Club, which is a Beam Suntory whiskey. Okay, so Negroni, yeah. Save that for now. So I think we're actually at a decent, I wonder, so I have tequila, I have whiskey, I had vodka. I guess it'd be interesting to see gin, rum, and I'm missing one. And brandy. Okay. Top selling rums in the world. Kraken, Havana Club, McDowell's Rum, Captain Morgan, Tanduay. Interesting, okay. And top selling gins in the world. So rum, I remember it's a spirit made from some type of cane sugar, or sugar cane, I should say. Bombay, Sapphire. Beef Eater, okay, sounds familiar. It seems like gin isn't as popular. And then the last one is, oh, mead also. I believe that's fermented only. It's not distilled. Mead, a fermented drink. Honey and yeast. Alright. So mead is not a spirit then. Okay, nice, we're getting the hang of it. Just simple classification, okay. So what are the top 5? We had gin, rum, top 5 brandy brands. Cognac and brandy, I think Hennessy's probably. God, okay. I wonder, is Ciroc still a thing? It is, okay. Oh shoot, I'm surprised I didn't add my maybe it didn't sync with my soju thing. Because I swear I had added something about soju today. Yeah, okay, I did. I'm just gonna have to sync that up with this. Alright, soju, let's see. Largest imported soju brands in the US today, who makes them? So Jinro, which is I think by far the biggest, Hike Jinro, and Chumchurum, which is made by Lotte, and Good Day, which I don't know actually who makes it. Oh, what the hell? Muhak. Soju. $19 to 20%. Damn. All right. Why would soju be illegal in the U.S.? All right. So I think I'm going to wait. I just realized. Considered a wine. I think not, because wines are fermented while soju is distilled. So when I say Korean rice wine, I am misleading someone. Cheongju, okay. Similar in concept. So Korean vodka, yeah, I guess. A Korean spirit. Alright. Alright, so I guess that's actually something I learned today. First day on the job for me, so yeah, good learning. I think this is where I'm going to end it. I have to wake up early. Hey, Rodrigo. Thanks for tuning in. But catch you guys in the next one. Peace.